Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Uncommon Podcast. That's right. Chris and Josh here. We're going to be discussing a little bit about the 5 love languages. This is our first series ever. That's right. And today we're going to be diving into second chapter, which is...
Does that show up reverse?
Quality time.
Like when you edit this, I'm sorry. I mean,
no, you're good.
Does it? Do you see that backwards? I mean,
I don't remember that. We have to look at that.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you don't have to cut it out or anything. That's just being real right now. Because my numbers are backwards. Can I just say we don't need a hype man? You know, some of these podcasts have like an intro guy. This is your guy right here, and he does jingles.
Yeah. You put me on the spot there.
I did that. You have a spotlight on you right now.
Yeah, I do actually. It's a bright light.
Yeah, but it's a bright light.
We've been talking about this, Chris.
Coming to fruition.
I'm sorry this took so long because you've been talking about this.
Because you know I was going to call you out.
I'm so committed.
It's taking responsibility. That's called staying ahead of the curve. Taking responsibility because you know I was going to call that stuff.
I got to own that, like
you did.
Planning and moving and grooving.
You stole my steam. It just
no excuses. We're getting
instant relief right there. Oh my gosh.
It's so fluent in quality time. So some takeaways that we discussed. Chris, did you want to break that down?
Yeah, I think man, we're on it tonight.
For you and all of our viewers.
In case you didn't know. I have some good singing voice. It's called tone deaf. I think first is trying to like identify, right? And one thing I didn't even realize in the back of this book, there's a test you say. I did not. I probably should have taken this test. I got to the last page and I was like, man, I'm done. I'm moving on.
Right.
I did not. I did not do that. I'm gonna have to do that and revisit that. But there's a what is it, like 20 some question test?
It's gonna take you 5-10 minutes.
Man, that is
the last time I did anyhow.
Speaking of quality time.
Mm-hmm.
30
questions. Yep.
30 question test you and your partner should take. That would help you identify kind of where you fall. Mm-hmm. She had 3 that were like dumb at one, that was obvious. It was like 6 points higher or something. And she had 2 secondary ones were like right there. So
yeah, you can be.
It's everybody's
a mix of them.
It's very possible that you can. But I think identifying kind of where you sit, and this term, the love tank. I love that. Like where like how is your love tank filled? Because as vulnerable or as like hallmarky that sounds, if that's a word, I just made that hallmarky. You probably understand what that means. It's a thing. Yeah, especially Christmas hallmarky.
Oh
yeah. So as much as it sounds like that, I think it's like really important for, if you don't know how it is you are stimulated, and how much your like love tank is affected by these languages. Yeah, that's why we're going over them, not just to help you identify what yours is, but also help you identify your partners also. And it works with business partnerships too, and in friendships. And so you kind of really build on all of your relationships utilizing these tools. But I think identifying that's probably an indication that your love language of quality time is like up there. Yeah. It may not be your primary one, but it does matter to you. If you are somebody on the opposite side of that spectrum, that you're like, I'm cool if I don't hang out with my partner. That's not really a big deal to me. She can go out and do her thing. I can do my thing. And that's probably not high up on your. I mean, it's probably a very general way to put it, but I think that's key, right? Is identifying that. Sure, there's an online, test it. But the primary chapter, if I read in this book, the primary chapter is helping you identify the difference between quality time and quantity of time. That's why I think they label it quality time, because it's not always about the amount of time. Because if we're in a long-term relationship, we're living with our partner, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever that might be, we're there every day, so to speak, right? Unless you have crazy schedules, but ultimately you're there and you live there. And so sometimes we as in men think that just being there and like watching TV with our partners is like good.
Yeah. There, you can be somewhere else.
And I feel like that's come up in arguments before. Yeah. Like, I'm always here. We watch TV together. We watch a show. Yeah. Like, I don't understand why you think.
By the way, now that you say that.
Yeah, it's for men.
For men. So yeah. That's the difference, because there's another love language book too.
There's actually a multiple ones. There's ones for teens. There's ones for women. There's ones for like the general. I think it's relationships one. Yeah, I found a bunch at the bookstore when I bought that, which I didn't know, and I grabbed the one for men because I'm like, well, I'm a dude, so I need the dude one. Dude one. So, but that's what that chapter stresses, is the quality versus quantity, right? And you probably have, and I do because I read it, months ago.
Yeah, exactly. and I just finished this yesterday, straight into today. So yeah. So with that said, since it's fresh in my mind, something that really stood out to me was the fact about time, because just like we're talking about now, in something that, just to quote here, every day, every person who draws breath on this earth receives the same amount of time, 24 hours in a day, 1440 minutes, or 86,400 seconds, depending on whichever denomination.
That's a lot of time.
But with that said, things take our time. The book talks about this. Your job, your overtime demands or opportunities, commute to work, kids' practices, your hobbies, requirements for just sleep, relaxation, all these things that take our time. Shaving, trimming, whatever, going to the bathroom, whatever it is that's taking your time, that's what's beautiful about the one's love language being quality time, because it's you separating yourself from all these other things that you could be doing. So you're doing that for that person. So it talks about the right kind of time, deep focus time.
Well, let me go back to that time thing, because something popped in my head that I think we should stress.
Talk about it.
Because you said things take our time, right? If it's an opportunity for us to take responsibility, and
used to use our time in certain ways.
We
should have put that.
No. I think you said it perfectly, because that point needed to be made. Because that's how, commonly, that's how we think of that. Like, I don't have a lot of time. We say, I don't have a lot of time. I'm doing this. It's like, yes, we have obligations that and in some cases we are not able to deter from. But most of our time, when your partner in my life that I want to share with you, and we don't accept that for whatever reason, like, that's something that we need to recognize, right? Take responsibility. So I just absolutely. So I just want to stress that piece of when we're giving that away at power, we don't want to give our power away. Especially us as guys, like we're powerful beings. Our partners expect us to be powerful, no matter what your role is in your house, and so we don't want to give that away. So man up, schedule, so that I'm giving my time a little bit more.
That's a valid point.
You go off on that, because I think that one of the other things that when we talked in our planning session, #live planning session, we did.
Check it back. Go back and check it out.
Yeah, we're starting to do that. Let us know if you like that or not. But when we talked about quality versus quantity, one of the things that you mentioned that I wrote down was conversations. We've talked about communication in podcasts in previous episodes and how important it is in the different forms. But you said some some pivotal things in regards to community. You're trying to spend that quality time with your spouse, right?
Something that we didn't discuss at Camp Speaker, you should feel at least a little flattered.
Oh.
Your wife isn't looking for words of affirmation or gifts or acts of service.
Right.
She just wants you.
It's a pretty inexpensive and
experience love and affection. She will feel sharing some of your precious time. A half hour here, an hour there, or a weekend on occasion is enough to keep her love tank filled.
I love that term, love tank.
Of time. So going this paragraph, everything you just said, you could not have made room for that blessing if you didn't make time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was an analogy that you used. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's what can be unlocked for your relationship. That's what's powerful about this type of languages. I mean, I think a lot of people are quality time, and we just don't know it. Having conversations. I mean, there's a reason that video is popular, so to speak. So I think it's kind of unique.
So how do you have a quality conversation?
I'm glad you brought that up here. This next section here.
Quality. Yeah, I love when I do that.
Time has many dialects. One of the most common dialects is quality conversation. That is a genuine dialogue in which you share experiences, thoughts, feelings, and desires in a friendly, uninterrupted context. To engage in quality conversation is to say, I will focus on drawing you out. I will listen sympathetically to what you have to say. I will ask questions, not in a badgering manner, but with a real desire to understand you. So that's all sounds great, but it gets pretty ugly when you're really trying to deal with that at times. I'll be honest with you. Like the last one says, I'll ask questions, not in a badgering manner, but with a real desire to understand you. So when years ago, I felt like that. Because it says here, I'll ask questions, not in a badgering manner. So just prepping people, if you're not a quality timer individual, that dialect of conversation may be uncomfortable. And so you can really understand that the questions aren't like to make you angry whatsoever.
Really good point.
It's difficult until you know what you're working with.
Yeah. It's a
work with like, I can hang.
No, it's from the other side of the coin. It's a eye opener when you realize you don't. This is one of the reasons why we're doing this. You don't speak the same language as your partner. It's a huge eye opener.
Yeah.
Right? When you're not understanding what they're saying, and they're like, "Don't
you get me?
So that was English I spoke. Yeah. And why are you not? Yeah. Why don't you get me? Why don't you know what I'm saying?" Right. Those are eye opener things. And so, I don't be afraid to clarify and ask those questions. And they shouldn't. Your spouse. Your partner shouldn't make you feel dumb for asking questions, because people that I feel like quality time is important to them, right? That's their love language. Will probably appreciate that because it shows that attentiveness. That's what that's saying, right? It shows that attentiveness, shows that you're listening, shows that you're engaged. The questions do, right? If you're speaking to somebody, if you're training somebody else and they're just like staring at you, not saying anything. You can tell when their eyes glaze over. Put in there that are probably flags are things. What would you say? Body language.
Oh yeah. So there's some tips in here talking about making eye contact with your wife. She's talking. That keeps your mind from wandering and communicate what she has your full attention. Don't listen to your wife and do something else at the same time.
Yeah.
Don't interrupt. Refuse to interrupt, but observe body language here. Like, for example, clenched fist to make sure that you know what she's really thinking.
Yeah. There's a meme out there that I identify with, and I think it's Kevin Hart. Picture of Kevin Hart, and it says, "I'm not responsible for what happens to my face when because I totally talk with my." That's I don't know. I'll take that quiz.
Yeah,
But
by the end of the series,
my love language. But I can't lie because my face it's got written all over. And I think listening. Oh my God, Josh, we are out there today. This episode is getting derailed.
Oh, so
you know, but like this is a good example. Listening, and like I mean, I was when you were reading part of that book, I was like in my notes, like trying to read my handwriting, like totally oblivious to what you were saying, and didn't make eye contact with you. Yeah, at all. So I apologize for that. But I mean, those are hard habits. I mean, real talk. Those are hard real talk. See,
real uncommon talk here. We're realizing while we're teaching about this, what we're doing wrong, even in our own little dialogue.
Yeah, well, just like,
yeah.
Oh God. Oh goodness.
Let's stay on track here.
We're not even having whiskey tonight.
Just water. About body language.
Listening. I got stuck on listening because I feel like that's one of the hardest skills.
What'd you say?
For us to learn. God, I'm a victim. But you know, like I can't. It's difficult.
That's true. It's interesting that you say that because I was just listening to something or reading something to the effect of talking about how even like
if you're listening to something, are you reading? Like, can you listen while you read?
I can't recall if I was listening or reading.
See, that was bad listening because when he said that, I was confused.
I was auditorially watching a video.
Auditorially.
Yes.
You're full of. I'm gonna write that down. I don't even know how to spell that. Auditory.
But here's the.
This might be one of the funniest episodes we've ever had. Auditorially.
From the beginning, educationally, we're really more so to do what we're supposed to do or with that group, and we're then providing that data versus understand that like these are the educational concepts that we're really concerned about. Are we teaching to understand? Are we teaching to, better each other, or are we just responding to information and computing?
Yeah.
Essentially. And so it's unique because that affects our relationships.
Oh, 100%.
Like I mean, I'm mind blowing myself right now because you're saying that, and I'm having this connection of the dots all back to this.
Well, so let me just I'll put a different. You heard?
Because we were talking about listening, yeah.
Oh yeah, I see what you did there. I see. I didn't even hear, but I heard. A different spin on this, right? Like, so we've talked about us as men being leaders, right, and having a certain amount of power, because like He-Man, or like the Hulk.
I have the power.
Marvel. I feel like they should remake that movie again.
It's on Netflix, actually. I've been watching it.
What?
Yeah. It's
He-Man?
He-Man, dude.
No.
And there's always something to learn at the end, like
man,
you two can be a good friend.
That was a good tangent we just went on. About He-Man. You check out He-Man.
Check it out.
Where was I going? Where was I going with this? Oh, when we I was something about power and
listening and
yes, knowledge is power. We've heard this over and over again, right? And so we're also probably not the best listeners, which probably means we have a lot more power to gain if we were to just listen, right? There's knowledge and power. If you don't have all the it is good. If you don't have all the information, how much control can you have in that situation? Limited. Yeah, you limit yourself. You limit your power. So like it's Who are you? Who are you right now?
You know who I am.
Preach.
Come on.
Oh, Joshua. So I think that are we having quality conversation right now?
We are. We're actually segueing to the topic.
So many segues. So this should be the quality segue episode. But you're right.
I like that. I'm gonna agree.
To harness that skill.
Yeah.
and own it. You also said things like refuse to interrupt, which I think we have a hard time not doing that. I have a hard time doing that with my business partner.
Yep.
Right. One of the other things I think that you mentioned is phone. Like just, you know what, that I think that gives use that. I don't know if it was in the book. It was just your wisdom.
Oh.
It might not even, I mean, there's a picture of a phone right there, but Joshua the Wise. But so here's a really cool thing that I thought of, that like society has given us an opportunity to like really look awesome by a simple gesture. Room. Somebody that is of quality time tank. If you picked up what I was meaning by that message, but just forgetting about your phone to spend time with your person is a pretty powerful gesture. That's what that says. I could not read my notes. Man, that was an ugly, because I think that's one of the things when we talk about, when we have the implication that we're spending time with our partner and we're just watching TV or so, it may not be quality time. It may just be like us being there, right? We may not be present. We're on our phone. We're not really engaged with our partner. You know, those kinds of things. And then you talked a lot, and I want you to talk about this. You talked a lot about sharing yourself, which, remember, that was like in the live session, I was like, we're about to scare a whole lot of dudes right now. Because you talked about part of that reciprocation was sharing yourself, right? Like talking about your feelings and emotions, I think is what you called it.
Said that, or is that reading out the book? Dang.
What? You don't remember saying that?
Oh, I probably will.
Rewind.
Rewind.
Yeah.
So probably about the opening up part. I probably did a rabbit hole there.
It was a great rabbit hole.
Let's go back down it. You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Share it.
So
share Josh's wisdom. It's not even in the book.
Oh, well, I think this is what got me going, wasn't it? The self-revelation.
I have no idea. It was just I wrote it down because it was super good.
Talks about quality conversation requires not only.
So I didn't write that down because that didn't mean anything in my brain. So I was just giving that to others.
What's interesting is it totally points out too, self-revelation is a challenge for many guys.
Mm-hmm.
Some adults grow up in homes where the expression of thoughts and feelings were discouraged. To request a toy was to receive a lecture on the sad state of family finances. The child went away feeling guilty for having the desire, and he quickly learned. Thus, the child was made to feel guilty for expressing disappointment at, say, not being able to go to the store with his father. He learned to hold his disappointment inside. By the time we reach adulthood, many of us have learned to deny our feelings. How many of us have had something similar, though, that maybe we don't realize that's affected why we don't express something, which is why we don't get to get out of that, because that's what it's going to take at whatever level or age. You know what I mean? Because I remember being like lost at the grocery store and not having the courage to ask for help.
Or to tell anybody that you were lost.
My little brother did help. Excuse me, Mr. and Mrs. Clark, me and my brother are lost.
Really?
Yeah, when we were little. I didn't have that courage.
Interesting.
So that's where I went back to.
I think I just remember feeling scared.
Yeah, feeling scared.
Like all of my survival skills went out the window.
Yeah, but you weren't communicating.
Like people weren't like helpful to me in those.
Oh, really?
No, I mean, like to me in my mind, like if I talked to I was caught in the trap between like talking to a stranger and like asking for help.
Yeah.
So like they instantly turned into, man, that's crazy. Yeah. They were dangerous to me. They weren't like resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Perception.
Can I just say that, like, before you continue, your wisdom prevented me from making fun of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I could not. I made a funny. Let's see when you're editing, I made some funny faces because I was like, what accent is that? This masterpiece theater.
The Ragu Festival.
The Ragu Festival. But anyway, so, oh yeah. I was like, where did that come from? Why do I know that? Yeah, I thought it was a cartoon. I thought it was a cartoon until you said that, and I was like, oh, definitely not. Oh my god, that album was hilarious. Yeah, Shout out to Adam.
Shout out to Adam Sandler.
Awesome. But yeah, people that genuinely want to know who you are. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your day. Share those things.
Yep. And to a cool tip here, if you're not that, something to get better, it says write down your feelings in the notepad, in a notepad of words, a word or two, helping you about your day. How are you feeling? So like event happened, tailgater, feelings, angry. Gas station, very upset. Work project due in 3 days, frustrated and anxious. It talks about how like the guy thought he had like 2 weeks. When guy's got to get it done in 3 days. And at the gas station, gas spilled all over the side of his vehicle. And so when he was riding his butt, when he was driving to work. So when you start acknowledging those things, now you have information to share with your partner when you share quality time. Because someone that doesn't have this, you're going to have to learn that language.
Oh, and like 90% of the guys, and I know this because I said it in my head, like, dude, guys aren't going to do this.
Exactly.
Like, I don't have time in the day to like I'm going to write down how I feel, but just do it. Just do it. I mean, it's less expensive than like the latter, right? Like what if your partner, and those kinds of things. And so this is just another way that you can practice this, right? And it actually is very therapeutic. Therapeutic. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I think this is like, I think it's an extreme for a guy, but if you can learn how to master that and like write down your feelings along with the event, I think writing, you know what I mean? Like absolutely, there absolutely is. I think just don't forget that you have to work towards that. I mean, you're not gonna don't try, just do it.
No try, just do it.
Right? Yeah.
Ancient Chinese proverb. No try, just do it.
From Yoda. I took that. Yoda. No try, just from Star Wars. Yeah. Dang. He says, "There is no try, there is only do."
There is only do.
I can't do the Yoda voice, which is like,
no try, only do.
Yeah.
Do you must.
Yeah. Do you must. Yeah, see, I can't do it. Anyways, but like writing the event down first, it's like I got cut off, or like my boss pissed me off, whatever that is. And then I think, for guys, we have pretty good recall when something traumatic happens for us. And then it'll allow you to write that feeling or register. That's really pissed me off.
Living that, they don't have to feel like they need to fix everything. Because I know I've been there, and it talks about that too in here, where like, say my spouse is upset about something, but really she's more venting. Yeah. But as men, we want to fix it. Yeah. I'm going to give you advice, and it talks about it in here too, where this guy realized that I think in the very beginning he talks about how he realized, because he tried to give her all this advice on what she should do at work, and she just wanted to be heard. She just wanted to be seen and have a conversation. It wasn't all about the stuff that she didn't like.
You know what? I mean, that's a really good tangent, because I think it's freeing. If we can realize that, need us, our partner, girlfriend, whatever. It's not that they don't need us, right? Like, it might be very rhetorical in that sense, right? It's not that they don't need us to fix things and need that from us, because I think as men we do need to be needed on some levels, on a lot of levels, I guess we should say. But if you can recognize that your partner just needs to be heard, and you don't have to fix her problem or give her advice and then wait to see if your advice worked or not, like, that's one less thing we have to worry about, that we're constantly loading and throwing on our shoulders. Wow, I don't know what you want me to do about this. And it doesn't have to be the eye roll. Well, what do you want me to do about it? Like, it's just, I'm really sorry that you had a bad day. Yeah. Is there something that I need? Let's ask the question. What do you need? Like, what do you need from me?
Hey, what if I need some popcorn? Let's forget about
that. Yeah. Then you like go from like fixing a problem that might take a week or a month to find out if you actually did help fix a problem to like a 3-minute bag of popcorn.
Yeah.
That's so much easier.
So the guy ends up telling her, do you remember this? He just gives her a bunch of advice and gets upset at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Where she just like, he's like, well, I don't want to hear it anymore. You're not going to do what I recommend.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
And then finally,
and how many times do we do that?
And he was like, oh.
You don't listen to what I say anyway. Like, why are you even telling me?
Yeah.
Why are you even telling me? You don't listen. Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. And then later he realizes it was just because he didn't understand.
Yep.
That he was feeling her love tank.
Mm-hmm.
Which was sad. And when
because the look
I read that, I was like, dang, poor dude. He should try and
necessary effort did he put into that?
Because it was a guy's
emotional energy. Yeah.
This gentleman is a psychologist.
Oh, that's right.
So he's talking about
his client. Yeah. Yeah. How much effort like that in and of itself, because I've been there, is exhausting. That's exhausting. Because then you just add more to your stress. Like then I'm trying to help my wife, I'm trying to help my spouse, I'm trying to help my girlfriend, and she just says, "How do I get her to listen to me?" And it's like it's like compounding problems that aren't even necessary. Unnecessary burdens.
Thinking when you said that, I was hoping you would use that word, but it's almost like you don't see it till like we know that now.
Yeah,
because we messed up to where we're even like talking with others about how do you prevent that.
This is real. Like that is a real thing. Like I've done that. It is, or like did you just need to vent?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I find myself just hoping that they'll say, "No, I just need a vent," because I have it's okay. I'm really sorry, and then I go on with life. And everybody's happy.
Exactly. Because
it's magical.
Yeah, because work, like we talked about, not just your partner in the world, just by being a good listener.
Yes.
There's another book outside of this that I read. It was a business sales type of thing, but that's exactly what it's getting at. Was like when you're reading people and understanding them, sometimes you don't. Less is more. You don't have to say a whole lot.
Oh, there's so much power in like nonverbal communication. If you just listen, 100%.
And genuinely listen, because like people can tell if you're really listening. Like you're empathetic, your eye contact. We talk about body language, not doing other things. And And if it's something serious, then it's like, oh, I feel valued. Like before we were talking, I had shared some information with you, and I felt hurt. It wasn't like you didn't not listen to me, because then you perfect example of what I mean. You want this to be with either a friend or a family member that shares that type of love language, where because words can help. Just like in the first one that we discussed, words of affirmation.
Words are powerful.
This is all about.
So I love that you're coming from that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so unique. The other cool thing too is like activities. So
wait, before you go there, because I want you to hit on, because I wrote these down because I think those are important, because you used one example of like things not to do.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, touch on those, because when you talked about those in the live feed, I remember, because I think that those are like do nots.
These are pro tips, yeah. So something to walk away, because essential notes, so to speak,
Cliff note.
Yourself. So a few things here. Top 5 things not found in quality time include texting / social media, TV, clock watching, board sides, and then it says college buddy who wants to hang out, or whatever.
Which means you're giving your time to somebody else.
Yeah. So in any of those things, it's not.
Yeah, those are all like you're giving your time to other things so it decreases the quality of the time.
Yes, and it's all about quality.
Yeah.
Because if you're spending time, that doesn't matter.
I mean, you're like attentive.
Yeah, which is unique, because you have to set boundaries. Because when you're living with somebody, or like whatever that time might be, especially if it's with a partner, sometimes it's like ended like situational of just the day to day. Well, there's the spray, for the mirror. When is another example is like, when is the dog's bed? We're still in conversation. You're still spending time together. Maybe you're making a meal and you're doing stuff, but is it quality time?
Right.
That's the question, and the answer is no, unless you're making it quality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
so that's the difference.
And sometimes you talk about setting boundaries. Sometimes you have to make those things happen.
It talks about it.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. You have to create that time, especially if you have kids and other obligations. I mean, it's a real thing. You have to create.
Wicked hard.
It's wicked hard.
So then quality activity.
Mm-hmm.
I feel most loved by my husband/wife, Lynn, and there's a blank line here. Here's a response of 29-year-old husband who had been married for 8 years. I think this is the guy that we were talking about. He says, "Oh no, I feel most loved by my wife. It sort of feels like we're dating again."
Such a guy. So you can tell a guy wrote that for sure, 100%. But you talked about like, and I want to stress this because I've made this mistake in the past, and like I came to realize that like I didn't date my partner. You know what I mean? And connections that you create and don't forget and take advantage of, and that kind of stuff. And so I mean you talked about like activities that will, you said go to a museum. What else is in
they
there?
give some unique examples. You're gonna love this, Chris. Quality activities may include things such as putting in a garden, visiting Civil War battles.
Yeah, I laughed at that one, as if like Civil War battlefields are like
I mean,
around every
area,
every corner.
We're in Colorado,
Sure,
so go to concert museums, training, and there's a lot of Colorado history. There's
Well,
museums that you
Mm-hmm.
can go check out all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's huge. The possibilities are limited only by your interest you wants to do. The other is willing to do. Both of you know why you're doing it. That is to express love by being together.
I literally got choked up.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
funny. Man, God is a funny guy. Funny. But those are things that I feel like I've taken for granted before in the past. I wrote down, for myself. Right. And so I think, again, those are things that are so, I mean, hiking.
Yeah, just fun stuff. Whatever you like to do. You could, what I want to do? I want to go axe throwing. I know how to throw an axe at a tree.
Yeah.
There's a place you can go.
And I didn't, I didn't see that as a skill until I tried it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is harder than.
But now there's a place you can go do, movies. There's all sorts of things for such activities, especially if you both have careers outside the home. You make time.
Yeah.
Just as you make time for lunch and dinner. This is kind of harsh, because you do that. We have to. Why? Because it's just as essential as marriage's meals are to your health. Water. So maybe you look over your fence like, oh, it's green over there. I want to go there. Well, how much time are you spending watering your lawn?
Mm-hmm.
Are you taking care of yourself?
Yeah.
Your business. That's what this is talking about. You can't just be doing you and you're in a marriage, whatever that is, whether it's spousal marriage, if it's a business marriage, because we have work wives sometimes, or whatever that scenario is, whatever your commitments are.
Sanchos.
The Sanchos, y todos, y mamas, y papas, y and tortillas, y todo. All of them require that and something different, maybe. So just making that extra effort, pick up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Give that friend a call. And then they got some other cool examples here, too. A car trip tends to promote conversation between couples, so you could drive quick across and go to a Civil War battlefield. Right? You might travel to a favorite restaurant. I like that idea. A restaurant 2 or 3 hours away, have lunch, and then drive back. You go to there's all kinds of little places, dude. You can go get something around somewhere. Make it a cool fun.
This is shared task and cleaning house and talk as you dust.
Talk as you dust. Hey, how you doing? You like mopping?
There's some truth to that, because they don't want to be caught up in. They don't want to be caught up. I can't remember. It's just respect the spouse click. Is that sound? Did you say something like that? I don't know if that's right.
Respect the house.
Respect the space click. I don't know what I wrote down there, bro. I was hoping that you would ring a bell for me.
That doesn't ring any bells, but it's hilarious.
Okay, well, I just wrote down something weird.
Awesome.
But one of the things that after the recording's over, Well, I think the last thing that you said that was powerful is that shows your to announce it. I want to stress that. Like if you gave up a day of golf to spend time, you probably shouldn't say, "Hey, I gave up a day of golf to be here with you." Like that, I think sends a signal that you didn't exactly want to be here. You would rather be gone. But sacrificing like a little bit of time of your time, whether it's like your show, your sports, your night out with the guys, golf with the guys. Eventually, if they need to find out, they will find out, or they'll know somewhere without you announcing. And that's not really what's important anyway, right? It's about you giving that time to your
they'll know.
Partner.
Like they know you. They know that you're giving up something. Or know you. They know that you're giving. Going back to the previous one, words of affirmation. That's a thing where you like kind of talk up with the friends. You're actually your spouse. So click it.
Oh yeah, right.
I have no idea how this is all coming together, but that reminds me how that's one of the differences in these languages. Is like you someone that has to hear good stuff, compliments, so to speak, even from others, fills their love tank. This doesn't even require that.
That's true.
The challenge is it's that one person. That's
true.
The challenge is that you probably know really well already, but how it it will. It gets deep. You know what you see?
Yeah, you're right. 100% right.
That's how it goes.
100% right.
There's just so many inner parts, and the family grows and changes. You know what I mean? Like so many grows and changes. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's the thing. That's the thing about people is that like very rarely, even people that claim to be homebodies or that claim to be even social, or like there's very few times that people don't grow in one way or another. I mean, you don't like to think of people digressing. But it does happen, and so that those terms to grow with, right, or else they wouldn't be in relationship with you, if it's a healthy relationship, and so making those sacrifices so that you share that with you, especially when you identify that your person's love tank. I love that term. Their love tank is filled by quality time. It doesn't cost a lot. It's just time. And it's time that we get every day. So there will be, making those sacrifices. There will be other times that you can be with your boys, right? It's okay sometimes to take that stuff for granted, but we shouldn't take our partners, our PICs, for you and take your kids for granted.
Right.
So why would you do that? There was like an analogy about people, right? And who you should put first in your life, right? And for people that are faith-filled, it's and then it's in some instances, some healthy instances, you should put you first, your personal growth first, then your partner, then your kids, then anybody outside your family circle, right? And so like those first three get kind of, I mean, obviously God should be first, right? If you're throwing yourself in there, because your personal health, mental state, growth, and you're bettering yourself, to help better your dynamic, right? And then your spouse, your partner should be at the top of that list. If it's not above you, then right below you. So switch those around, right? Because that's the person that will be with you forever, right? Like that's the person that should share that responsibility of each other, because I think like the whole chain, when the spouses ask that question, right, who you first, me or the kids, or me, well, your family's they go off, they have their own life. The kids are gonna grow up, they're gonna leave, they're not gonna love us the same way that we love them, but you're gonna love them. So I think then giving that time to another person is kind of where that signal is to the other person that like you understand that's what they need from you, is that they quality time. And I love the love tank analogy, because then you feel that love tank for them. And so, a lot of good information that we kind of went over, experiences that we've shared. I mean, we'd love to hear your guys's too. You should really, it's a pretty easy read. This 5 love languages. This one's for men, but pick it up and there's a lot of good nuggets in there. Take the test. Have your partner take the test, because I will tell you that it probably has pretty good odds at saving your relationship. Because I think, like, as guys, again, we take a lot of this. That's why we're doing this, because we've taken this stuff for granted before, and we want to share that with you so that you guys don't.
Something you were talking about too is growing together. Because if you're not growing together, then you're
growing apart.
And you had mentioned something about a signal. I like that, because the fuel tank, the love tank.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned about it. This will signal your intentions, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you're signaling like a turn or you're passing.
Yeah.
It makes others aware, right? It's a form of communication. And so that signal allows for you to demonstrate that to your partner. And so that's the key to each of these different dialects, is finding out what that is, and you communicating to that loved one that you're signaling that, hey, I'm in this with you. We're doing this together.
Yeah.
I'm going to try. That's all that we ask, I think.
Don't try, just do.
Do. No try, just do. Do it.
There's no try. Do it. Right. And then going all the way back to when we first started, right, is check all those boxes. I mean, don't give all of your time to the things that aren't as important, right? Because I think that list that we went over, your hierarchy, right, of importance and priority, that will help you prioritize your time. And are you giving? You can check off those boxes. Did I pray today? Did I acknowledge my higher power and what has been given? What did I do to improve myself today? Did I give time to my? That's that. If you list that hierarchy of importance to you in your life, that will help you check those boxes off every day and help you. If you're task driven, it will help you check those task boxes off as the day goes. So I check these boxes. If I didn't check the box, then you might have an issue. But that might help. Prioritize and check those boxes. But I'm excited about continuing this series. Quality time episode, check. Right, we'd love to hear your experiences, love to hear your feedback. Again, if you've read the book, love to hear your insights. Always want to interact with our viewers and our subscribers. Again, 5 Love Languages by, is it Gary Chapman? Yeah, a really great book.
Shout out to Gary and Randy.
Shout out.
Some wonderful information to heal our relationships and improve everything. So we hope that you all have enjoyed this episode, this wonderful, unique series that we've been putting together for you, and that you continue to strive to be uncommon. Please tune in to the next episode of this series, the 5 Love Languages, and we'll share more with you. Thank you for being uncommon.